Hi guys, Ray here from City Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well. I'm back in Northern Ireland today. I've got a week here working in special needs schools, and then at the weekend I've got a couple of days of shows in theatres. A lot of fun to look forward to, and look at this weather. Look at this. Fantastic weather. It's 20 odd degrees Celsius, which is, we're in the 70s Fahrenheit. It's really very pleasant, and you can see the loch in the background, the lake, I think, possibly. Anyway, I'll just get across before I get smashed over by this car. Guys, we go into the international break. We're top of the table, 100% record, absolutely fantastic. But I'm not going to talk about the Premier League as such. I'm going to talk about our academy. Now, a lot of people were, I think, unhappy. Very unhappy, some people, that Cole Palmer, a Manchester boy, Wythenshawe, City fan all his life. He's been at the club since he's 8 years old. He's 21 now, and City sold him to Chelsea. A lot of people, myself included, would have liked Cole to get more chances. He's scored 2 cracking goals for us this season. One in the Community Shield against Arsenal, and in the Super Cup against Sevilla. Absolutely cracking finishes. But he made some mistakes in that Sevilla game as well. And Pep, in my opinion, just didn't trust him. So a lot of people were unhappy that such a promising talent has been deemed surplus to requirements and pushed off, sold for big money to Chelsea. And so people are asking, what is the point of the academy? And that's the point of this video. What is the point of the academy? Well, got to go back best part of 10 years when we basically a few years after Sheikh Mansour had bought City, we were developing the academy. We spent money on this the little stadium across the road, CFA I think it's called, and we pumped a lot of money into it. We went out if we could and bought players. We tried to buy the best players, not just locally, not just in England, but in Europe as well. Wherever we could, we were buying the best talent we could. But the academy has not really produced players for Manchester City. If we're honest about it, the last 10 years, only Phil Foden has come through and made it into the first team and been a permanent feature in that first team. But hey, Phil Foden is a player of extreme quality. Even Pep said years ago he was probably the best youngster that he trained at that particular age. So Phil Foden is he's a superstar. He is a superstar, really. And I think the thing is, if you look at other players coming through, they've not been as good as Phil Foden. There's been players we thought, yeah, give them a chance. They deserve to have a go. We think they can make it. Yeah, we saw Liam Delap coming through. We thought, yeah, give this kid a go. We think he's got a chance. Well, you know, Liam Delap, Erling Haaland, it's no contest. So you have to get through at City and make it into that first team, you have to be the best of the best. And Phil Foden is the best of the best. He fits that category. But the other players just haven't. Now, I think we'll still use the academy to look for top talent, because if you can bring in talent, I mean, look, here's an example. If you wanted to go out and buy Phil Foden 2 or 3 years ago, how much would he have cost? 100, 120 million? If Joao Felix can go for 100 and odd million, then Foden's worth a lot more than Joao Felix. So one of the benefits of the academy, occasionally, very rarely, you will produce a top player who is hopefully, like Phil, a City fan from birth almost, and he's gone through the system from a very young age. So that's very rare, unfortunately. It's very rare that happens. The main purpose of the academy now seems to be to get players, get them in cheap or for free, develop them and sell them on and make money. There's no other two ways of looking at it. That's all our academy does, is get players in, train them, develop them, sometimes send them out on loan and flog them. Now, this summer just gone, we must have sold about 20 players. A lot of kids were sold, quite a few on undisclosed amounts, so we don't know what those figures were, probably quite small. But some of the big ones, okay, obviously the Cole Palmer, £40 million plus £5 million in add-ons, that was a big transfer. You look at James Trafford, that was 15-16 million quid plus some add-ons. You look at Carlos Borges, I think that was 12 million quid, 12-13 million pounds to Ajax. You look at Shea Charles, he was, I think, £10.5 million to Southampton. Now those guys, just those four on their own, bring in a lot of money. 40 million for Cole Palmer, 12 for Borges, let's say, that's 52. 15 for Trafford, that's 67. 10.5 for Shea Charles, 77. You chuck in the Fletcher twins. I think Darren Fletcher's kids were here, his boys. We sold them for 1.3 million. There was Yangel Herrera. We sold him for, I think, 4.3 million. And a few other kids. You can go and check on Wikipedia or Transfer Market. But we sold somewhere in the region of 85 million quid. Okay, and as I said, there were probably a few more of these undisclosed, which are small. Matters get us up to 90 million quid. Now, that in our accounts is pretty much pure profit. It hits you. So profit on sale of players, because it cost us now, all these players. Profit on the sale of players or a loss hits your accounts the year in which those sales were made. So those sales on those players brought us in somewhere in the region of, let's say 85 million pounds profit in our accounts. It's a phenomenal number, and it just seems to be going up and up and up. I think a couple of years ago I did some numbers. We were looking at about 50 million, and I haven't even included, forgot this, Romeo Lavia, because when we sold him to Southampton, I think we had a 20% sell-on clause, so we got somewhere in the region of, I think, another 10 million quid for Romeo Lavia. So all those kids have basically got us in about 100 million pounds, pretty much pure profit. Now, just to briefly mention it, but when you buy a player, okay, let's say Jack Grealish, take him as an example. When you buy a player, his cost is 100 million quid, but it doesn't hit our account straight away. You look at the length of the contract. Let's say his contract is 5 years long, and you spread the cost of that acquisition over the length of the contract. So you amortize it. It hits your accounts at 100 million divided by 5, which is 20 million every year. Chuck in his wages, let's say that's another 20 million, whatever. Jack Grealish might be costing us best part of 40 million pounds a year. That's how much it hits our accounts for. If you're selling all these kids for 80, 90 million quid as a profit, you can afford 2 Jack Grealishes as long as you're doing it every year to balance it. As long as you're selling those kids every year, so you can see what selling these kids, making profit, what it brings in, and it's basically allowing us to go out and buy players. The money we got in from selling these kids and the sell-on for Romeo Lavia, that allowed us very early in the window to buy Gvardiol and Kovacic. I mean, they were together, let's say 100 million quid. Well, that's what we got from the sale of those players. That's absolutely fantastic. And, you know, it's okay. It's, as I said, it's not how finances actually work in your accounts, but, you know, it's brilliant. And then obviously we sold a couple of other players, Mahrez and Laporte, and they actually in our accounts would have been valued quite low. I mean, I would just estimate that we made about another 40 million profit on sale of players in our accounts from those 2 players. So our accounts are looking, I think, very, very healthy. You know, they took a beating, a bit of a battering with all the win bonuses we had to pay out. Maybe that's why City were unwilling to go as high on certain players as other clubs. You know, we had our valuation, we stuck to it, but, you know, we paid a lot of money out in win bonuses for the treble last season. But going back to the academy, I mean, I've basically said it. That's the purpose of the academy now. Occasionally, we will unearth a diamond, like Phil Foden. will unearth really good players like Cole Palmer, like James McAtee. I think he's going to be a really good player. We will unearth these really good players, but in all honesty, most of the time we'll be sending these players out on loan or just flogging them and making a huge profit on the sale of players for our accounts. And honestly, I can't see that changing anytime soon. I'm happy about this method. Well, it's what we do. I would really like to see some kids coming through and some kids actually making it at City, but I'm old enough and ugly enough to accept that this is the way of the world. This is business. That's what it really is. And by selling all these players, that allows us to go out and buy your Jeremy Dokus, your Mateus Nunes, and Gvardiol and Kovacic. So I just have, as Pep says, it is what it is. You just have to accept it, take it on the chin, and accept that very rarely someone like Phil will come through, but more than likely all these kids, however good we think they are, however much we want them to go through and succeed and make it into that first team, most of them will be sold and we'll make a pile of money. Guys, if you're new to the channel, it would be fantastic if you could subscribe. If you can hit that bell icon, you'll be notified as soon as new videos come out. We'll see you around, Blues.